Today we're looking at a question that comes up all the time when people build a 48-volt solar battery bank. Is it cheaper to buy four 12-volt, 100-amp-hour batteries and connect them together? Or should you just buy one 48-volt, 100-amp-hour battery from the start? On paper, both options can store about the same amount of energy, but the purchase price is only part of the story. There are a few extra costs that many people don't think about until after they start building the system, and those costs can change the final decision. Let's start with the four-battery setup. If we take four 12-volt 100-amp-hour batteries and connect them in series, we end up with a 48-volt 100-amp-hour battery bank. That gives us roughly 5,120 watt-hours of stored energy. Now let's look at the battery cost. If we choose watt-cycle batteries, the total comes to about $734. If we go with Dynas batteries, we're looking at around $680. And if we choose Battleborn batteries, the total jumps to about $800 for each battery. Of course, there are cheaper batteries available online. But when you're building a solar system, price should never be the only factor. Build quality, customer support, warranty coverage, and long-term reliability matter just as much as the sticker price. Now, here's where many people stop their calculation. They add up the cost of the batteries and assume they're done. But a four-battery series setup usually needs a few more components before it's truly complete. And that's where the real comparison begins. Let's talk about one of the biggest hidden costs. Each 12-volt battery has its own built-in battery management system, also known as a BMS. The BMS does a good job protecting and balancing the cells inside that individual battery. The problem is that battery number 1 is not communicating with battery number 2, 3, or 4. Over time, small differences can develop between the batteries. One battery may reach a higher voltage, while another stays slightly lower. As those differences grow, the batteries may no longer share the workload evenly. Over time, small differences can develop between the batteries. One battery may reach a higher voltage or lower voltage than the others. This can reduce the usable capacity of the battery bank, and, in some situations, may cause a protection disconnect before the other batteries are fully charged or discharged. This is one reason many installers add a battery balancer when running multiple 12-volt batteries in series. A quality balancer for a four-battery setup can cost around $70. Next, we need the series connection cables. To turn four separate batteries into one 48-volt battery bank, we need jumper cables between the batteries. Using properly sized cables, the cost is roughly $7 per cable. Since we need 3 connection cables, that's about $21. Then we still need overcurrent protection. A suitable fuse setup can add another $45. Now let's add everything together. Using the Dynas batteries, $680, plus the balancer, cables, and fuse, the total comes to about $816. And remember, that number does not include your time. You still have to install the batteries, connect everything correctly, double-check polarity, and make sure every connection is properly tightened. For experienced solar users, that's not a big deal. But for beginners, extra wiring means extra complexity and more opportunities for mistakes. So, while four 12-volt batteries may look cheaper at first glance, the final cost is usually higher than many people expect once all the supporting hardware is included. Now, let's see what happens when we compare that setup to a dedicated 48-volt battery. Now let's compare that with a dedicated 48-volt battery. One option is a server rack battery. These batteries are designed from the start as a complete 48-volt solution. For example, a Vatere server rack battery costs about $829. A major advantage is that all of the cells are managed by a single battery management system. You do not need an external balancer, and you do not need series jumper cables between multiple batteries. Many server rack batteries also include communication features that can connect directly to compatible inverters. That allows the inverter and battery to share information such as state of charge and charging limits. Another option is a golf cart-style 48-volt battery. Personally, this is the option many homeowners should seriously consider. It is simple, compact, and easy to install. You have one battery management system, and far fewer connections. Some models include Bluetooth monitoring, while others also offer communication features. For example, the steel case model from Lifetime costs about $1,330 and includes communication capability. Now let's compare the overall picture. The 412-volt battery setup ended up around $870 after adding the balancer, cables, and fuse. The Vodare server rack battery comes in at about $829. In other words, once you account for the extra hardware, the price gap is much smaller than many people expect. And in some cases, the dedicated 48-volt battery can actually be the better value. There is less wiring, fewer components to manage, and a cleaner installation overall. One more thing worth mentioning. If you already own several matching 12-volt batteries, building a 48-volt battery bank by connecting them in series can make perfect sense. You may be able to reuse equipment you already have and save money. But if you're starting from scratch and building a brand new 48-volt solar system today, I would strongly consider buying a proper 48-volt battery from the beginning. The installation is simpler, troubleshooting is easier, and there are fewer components that can create problems down the road. Now I want to hear from you. Are you using 12-volt, 24-volt, or 48-volt batteries in your solar system? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Battery Hacker, and I'll see you in the next one.